to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would accept a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded. We're going to go into an executive session because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the body. We will reconvene into open session after the executive session. So we're going to go into the selectman's office for the executive session so that everybody can stay. Yeah.
Thank you.
They decided they're gonna go.
Thank you.
We will move on. I don't have the dates of the meetings.
January 27th, March 10th, March 12th.
Is that where I'm sitting?
Sure.
Yep, come on in.
Can I just hold a coffee?
Sure.
Holly. Oh, no, it's not.
We have some minutes to approve. We can,
I don't have any.
okay.
Yeah. That's all.
I'm going to go ahead and read the agenda. We have meeting minutes to approve, then we'll have public comments, then we'll take action on a Class 2 license, confirm the appointment of the acting town accountant. We'll hear from Julie Richard regarding Orchard Lane. We'll discuss the VSO services, discuss snow and ice deficit, discuss the hiring freeze, talk about capital planning, discuss the accessibility waiver for East Templeton, discuss 252 Baldwinville Road. Then we will talk about the warrant for the annual town meeting and discuss the personnel policy. So the first set of minutes we have is for January 27th. Everyone had a chance to read those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 27th, 2014.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, so now we have the meeting minutes from March 10th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from March 10th, 2014.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Now March 12th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 12th, 2014.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, does anybody have comments on things other than what's on the agenda? Yes?
I'd like to think I end up bringing something to the selectmen's attention. As you might be aware, that the advisory board has been working on a 10-year plan projecting the budgets unfortunately this year here, because of the fact that we had the school override and this deficit, we've been unable to take and complete that. In doing some research to make sure we had the correct data on the past so we can project to the future, I came across some information that I found that would probably be quite helpful to the selectmen in understanding an issue that they addressed a couple of weeks ago. I know this was discussed quite vigorously, and this may end up coming into play as to what the board's final decision is. What I ran across was in the budget of 2012, as well as the warrant articles, certified warrant articles of the annual town meeting, was this information. And I'll tap if I can, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Will, can we leave something for Ken to put in
Absolutely.
his box?
I have enough.
Okay, thank you.
I have enough, so that there is. What I want to point out was that Article 11, 2012, basically might have set a precedence for this community as far as payment in lieu of taxes. And I know there was quite a bit of discussion on this particular thing. As you see, I've highlighted that particular article, showing you that $50,000 from the sewer enterprise was payment in lieu of taxes, passed on May 10th at the annual town meeting. If they can support that, two other pieces of documentation from the recap. If you look at the last page, under line 22 miscellaneous, in lieu of tax of the sewerage enterprise, $50,000. So I know there was some discussion on payment of taxes in lieu of taxes here for that amount. So that might have set a precedence that, in looking at the enterprises as a whole, might end up affecting your final decision going forward in the future. And I just wanted to bring that up to your attention, that I was quite surprised when we ended up looking at some of the data and I came across that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Bethany?
I just had two pieces of COA news. One is I wanted to let everyone know that we are doing an open house of the construction site of the new senior center. It will be Saturday, April 5th from 10 to 12. The new senior center is off of Bridge Street, basically across from the electric light department behind the Pines Apartments. The other piece of COA news, I'm sorry? Pineview, I'm sorry, about Pineview Apartments. The other piece of COA news is that we are doing a community service project where we're doing Easter baskets for families of our food pantry who have children. So we are looking for donations of Easter candy, Easter toys, stuffed animals, all that type of stuff. Anybody can call us at the COA for more information and drop off things at Scout Hall anytime that we're open.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Holly?
Can you send me something for the website, both of those?
Sure.
I'll put it on the front page.
All right, perfect.
I'm sorry, can I just make a comment?
Absolutely.
Could you send something out to, from you to all the department heads, and maybe the department heads could disseminate that information to their employees, and that would get the word out more too, and it would just be word of mouth. That would be great.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Great suggestion.
Thank you.
All right, so we have an action on a Class 2 license for DMC Auto Sales. We are looking to do a used car business.
Sure. We do need to do a motion with an exception. He needs to get a bond, and between Kate leaving the office and that information didn't get transferred to me in time, so
Okay.
and he knows that already. So if we could vote to have someone sign it, and then it'll be ready when he gets that.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to issue this Class 2 license, subject to the receiving of the bond. Yes.
He should call me to go down and do an inspection before he opens and before it's approved. I know it's a transfer, but I still want to meet with him, tell him what is expected of him, make sure he meets all the standards of the law. And I'll do a site inspection and back. I mean, you can approve it pending my inspection, which I can certainly send by email to the board. But I think that was something we have always done in the past, and I only learned of it today when it was placed on the agenda. When I read the agenda this morning.
Okay.
Kind of normal procedure.
All right, good.
So you need to get a hold of me.
Besides Chief Whitaker, are there any other things that need to be met that haven't been before? I mean, subject
Where it's a transfer, I don't think it's.
Larry
an issue.
Grant went down there according to our
Just call it
records.
inspection.
Yeah, we have a letter from him.
Okay.
A letter from Larry and the planning board
Yeah,
is all set too.
all right. I will make a motion to grant a Class 2 license to DMC Auto Sales for no more than 10 vehicles pending an inspection by the police chief and the bond.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So we don't need to sign this. Okay, we need to confirm the appointment of Matt Angel as the acting town accountant. Yep, motion to do that.
Okay. I will
Hi.
make,
Oh, sorry.
oh, do you want to do it?
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
No, I was just. No, please. But I'll second it.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Matt Angel as acting accountant to expire June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, so our next item is Julie Richard to discuss Orchard Lane. Welcome.
Actually, I have a poster here that maybe you can put on your whiteboard here. These are all the potholes in case anyone has never been to Orchard Lane in East Templeton. It's amazing over there. And then here's a map, just in case you're wondering what streets were done in the last 3 years. There were 4 streets that were resurfaced by the Highway Department in Templeton. And they were all within a 1-mile walking distance from my front door. So I think it's time that we try to find the money so that we can fix Orchard Lane, I guess. So I'm just going to start quick if everyone's patient with me, it's my first time. First, I would like to thank Holly Young for pointing me in the right direction to get here. For the past 3 years, I've observed Chapter 90 funds being utilized by the Highway Department to improve and resurface 4 streets within a mile radius of my front door on Orchard Lane. In the beginning, I was elated that this was underway, as I was confident Orchard Lane would be taken care of as well. When I called to ask the highway superintendent when Orchard Lane improvements were going to begin, I was assured that the lane was on the priority list. 2 years have passed, nothing yet. For the past 9 months, I have called and voiced my concerns about the deteriorating conditions of Orchard Lane and have been told it remains on a priority list, however, there's no money. This winter, I've added air to my new tires on several occasions, had a flat tire, and lost 2 hubcaps due to the road conditions. Thus, the nickname Hubcap Lane came about. So I have a couple of questions for the selectmen at this point. Is it your intention to communicate to the residents of East Templeton the importance of returning surveys to Michael Ping Ping, in case anyone doesn't know who that is? He's the senior project manager of the Community Opportunities Group out of Boston, as aggressively as the residents and Light and Water Department did during the Back Bay project? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, do you plan to use Chapter 90 funds this year to update the water main as well as have the highway department resurface the road afterwards, prior to getting the CDBG grant, which when passed will probably, actually I just factually found out that today by talking to Michael, refund the funds? If yes, when is the project going to begin? If no, who's going to be responsible for aggressively seeking the funds to do the job, and who will be the contact person in that department, so I can remain informed throughout the process? And number 3, probably not going to fly, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Who do I send my refund request to for the damage done to my vehicle this winter? So those are my 3 questions. Do I need to submit them to you? Is that how this works?
That probably would be good if we had a copy.
You can answer the third one.
Yeah.
I just put one through for somebody else.
Oh, great.
You can submit it to me.
Oh, okay, great. So when I have my receipt, I can just return it to you?
And we submit it to the insurance company. Not guaranteeing they'll pay it, but we'll submit it.
Oh, great. I will do that.
I'll
Thank
tell you,
you.
I can add too. My sway bars had to be replaced.
Yeah, and
Some
my
potholes.
shocks too.
Oh boy, I hope there's no worms.
So, do you answer your question, my questions now? Is that how this works?
I mean,
Because I really don't want to get tabled. I'm new to this, so I just, so question number 1.
I mean, we certainly communicated, you know, with the people of East Templeton that they needed to get the, you know, the questionnaires returned. I mean, we talked about it at a number of meetings. I believe there was even some door-to-door contact with folks in East Templeton.
Certainly not on Orchard Lane.
By who?
No.
Guarantee
Nobody
it.
else?
Guarantee it.
Nothing.
Never
Again,
had a knock on
I-
Just
my
my
door.
name.
Yeah, I don't know. I said I believe there was. I do
Okay.
not know that there was. There was some talk about it. Whether or not it ever did, I cannot say. So I know attempts were made, at least, to communicate that out. We did not get enough surveys returned, so that will have to happen again in the next process.
I know we can still, right now, collect surveys for next year.
Oh, you absolutely can for next year. In the meantime, I don't want my 11-year-old, and it's just an opinion, to get swallowed up on Orchard Lane. Just saying. I'm done.
Here we go.
I'm done. You have Chapter 90 money, the Chapter 90 money that was left over from 2011, whatever was left, the little bit of kitty that was left, got sent over to help finish up Waldenville Road and someone's private wall. I would like this year's Chapter 90 money, which I know you have a budget for. I want it to be prioritized to Orchard Lane and Schoolhouse Road. I'm done. You don't have that many in East Templeton. We didn't get any in the last 3 years. None. No money from the 90 fund. So I'm
Well,
asking.
that's how Sawyer Street got done, Baker's Lane got done.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how,
There's
it
4.
was from
They responded?
Chapter 90, could I speak, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's how those roads got fixed.
Exactly.
And right after Sawyer Street was fixed, very recently after that, there was a water main break that basically tore up the road. Part of the problem, okay, with using Chapter 90 money to fix these roads, and I'm not saying we're not going to do it, But the water infrastructure, we don't control that. We could put a brand-new road over Orchard Lane, okay? We could do Schoolhouse Road. The mains underneath there, the water mains underneath that road are 60 years old.
1975.
They're old, and they will break, okay? We were warned by the water department not to do Sawyer Street because the water main would break. What we have to do in East Templeton, because the road lengths aren't as long as some of the other stretches, is try to bundle roads together so that the project can be done. Okay, you can't do one road at a time. You couldn't just do Cottage Lane. You had to bundle the group of them together. So that's why we grouped together the ones that were done, okay? So that when they set up and do the roads, they have a whole section that they can do.
Correct.
So when we do other parts of East Templeton, that is what we will do. But the problem isn't just the roads, it's also the drainage.
Which is what I'm requesting now.
Right. To do the drainage, the water mains, and the roads is very expensive, and we as a town can't touch the water mains. That's what Chapter 93 Acts of 2000 did to this town. It split it apart. It created the division. So we as a town can't fix the water mains.
Who does?
We can fix your roads. The light and water department.
So this town doesn't have its own light and water department?
We have its own light and water, but
Oh.
we don't control that. We're the Board of Selectmen. They have commissioners that control light and water. Okay?
So who gives the money for the roads?
The roads, to do just roads, is Chapter 90, Board of Selectmen can do that, okay?
We can do
So
the
you guys
roads.
don't work together?
They've tried in the past, like back in May,
So
they tried.
so you have to come one part to you, so you say, yeah, we'll fix the road,
Right.
but that's useless, because you need to fix the water main.
The water mains
obviously.
need to be
So you
done.
guys don't work together?
It has happened in the past, I don't.
Well, that's what I'm
Right.
trying to understand. You
Right.
guys don't work together?
We can't tell the water department to, we're gonna do Orchard Lane, so you need to replace those mains, because we're gonna do that road.
Okay, so
So,
scenario here.
Yeah.
I go to the next water department meeting.
Mhm.
I give the spiel I just gave to you, and I say, go do the water mains.
and they're gonna say, you
Then I'm
have to
gonna
talk
come
to the
back
select-
here, and I'm gonna say,
Have
when
you
are you
done,
gonna?
have you gone to a water?
No, I haven't, because actually
Okay.
I'm starting here, because I'm
Right.
new to this.
Right.
So forgive me if I'm in the wrong spot, which I
You're not.
don't think that
You're
I
not.
am.
We do roads, they do
Because-
water mains.
Yeah, but even if,
But I
so we
think
have,
s-
so you do the roads, right? You do our road, Orchard Lane.
Yeah.
You have a water break. That's one little hole.
Have you driven down Orchard Lane?
No, I-
When's the
It's
last time
horrible.
you've driven down Orchard
It's
Lane?
probably about a year ago.
Can I quote?
Try driving 15 miles an hour on Orchard Lane.
And the-
You'll lose your,
I know.
you'll lose your,
I drive crappy roads all the
Yeah.
time in Orchard Lane. Orchard Lane, Turner, do you want, anyone?
Ragged
You want-
Hill.
Ragged Hill.
Are they all together?
Oyster Road. No, I mean, this town is filled with water
I-
river
I
roads a
understand
mess.
that.
It is. So what we were trying to do with the CDBG grant is to focus our efforts in East Templeton, okay? So that we weren't doing the roads and then doing the drainage and then doing the water mains.
Okay,
Okay,
this
that's not really how this
I thought
project
that
is.
was-
Sawyer was done.
Right.
Right, and then it blew a water main,
Yeah,
and we've
but
had
when-
3 water main breaks on Orchard,
I
just
know.
saying, whatever, it is what it is. But this is my thing. When you had a little extra money in 2011, because you did, and I have copies of all of that, the rest of that money from the 90s fund went over to assist with bills on Baldwinville Road. I'm a resident of East Templeton. I would like an answer as to why. If you couldn't do the water main on Orchard Lane in 2011, why was the superintendent continuously throwing me for a ride saying you're on the priority list, you're on the priority list, you're on the priority list? That money certainly didn't prioritize Orchard Lane for resurfacing. So who makes the choices? I can understand that their Cottage Lane is about maybe a little bit longer, so it might have cost, or a little bit shorter, it might cost a little longer, I don't know, a little more money for Orchard, whatever. Why was the money taken from one town and go, oh, we got extra, let's go give it over here? I just don't understand the process of that.
The process
That's
is
number
every,
one. Wait a
every
minute.
year, we get an allotment of money from the state called
Correct,
Chapter
and you just got
90.
your allotment for 2014.
Right,
Do you
and we
have
have-
any idea where you plan to put that 90s fund?
We haven't discussed this as a board, which is what we need to do. That's what we have to do.
How do you discuss it? Do
believe
people
that.
come and say, my street has to
Here
be
I am
done? Is that how you
discussing it.
discuss it?
I don't
How do you decide?
Yeah, let's hear from Bud. I mean, Bud's gonna have a lot of input on this.
Well,
Yeah.
before Bud comes in, if I could just quote something that was written in 2011, December 20th by Julie. I was just, so this
By
got me
Julie
to think a little bit of which way are we
Okay, go
going
ahead.
with this tonight. We have limited funds, they're controlled by us, Board of Selectmen, administered by the highway, engineering and design, yada, yada.
Just read it.
You can go get these block grants. And then at the end, you say, Royalston Road, you're kind of holding off, and I know Royalston Road is really bad. Rumor is not true, TDC will not become a prison. That's a fact. I work there. I know that. But then you did say, and this is in 2012, Orchard Lane, Schoolhouse Road in East Templeton are doable projects with Chapter 90. That was now 2 budgets earlier.
Right, and it's probably 3 select boards
I
ago.
think it's time that we land on the top of the list, is all I'm trying to tell you tonight.
So, Bud, I'd like to get from your opinion, what do you think the cost to do all of Orchard Lane would be? I mean,
Well, it just happened to put some numbers together for that. When I just remeasured it up, not that it grew or shrunk, but
Did it say?
It's the drainage,
because
okay, and when you put the
prices,
sewer
prices
in. I was there
change,
before the sewer came in.
and,
And then once they put the sewer in, it all comes down from 101.
Hasn't been touched since the sewer went in.
Yeah, it hasn't, and that was in 78 or 76. Yeah.
This is nothing.
like,
yeah, let's let Bud
It's
talk.
not a lot.
give you one tomorrow. So I'd like to start out by saying and try to correct some things that was said that aren't entirely factual.
Julie,
Do you need that?
Yes, each year we receive money from Chapter 90. And over the past several years, we've had a Back Bay project which committed $125,000 each year towards that project. So that had to be done. It was grant money, but we had to put Chapter 90 with it to finish out certain streets. When Bonneville Road came as a project to the town, out of Chapter 90, we spent close to $400,000 out of Chapter 90 to engineer the road. The only way you can get state and federal money for a project of that size, and it's 19,000 feet long, Bonneville Road, is that you have to, with your Chapter 90 money, you have to hire your own engineer, design the road. It's got to go through a state approval process and everything else, which took several years to do. In those several years, it was an ongoing engineering cost to keep expending money out of our Chapter 90. So once the project got approved and funded from federal and state sources, the project started to move forward. It was a $3.4 or $3.6 million project.
3.8.
3.8? Okay. A little fuzzy on the numbers. So what the state requires is that you have to take 10% of that cost of the project, which if it's 3.8 million, you have to take $380,000 and you have to earmark it in case there's overruns
for the project, because you never know what you're gonna run into when you start a project that size. So the Board of Selectmen committed, out of our Chapter 90, another $380,000 that we couldn't use. It was there in the bank, basically, but we couldn't use it until the project was, is completed. It's 99% completed, however, Mass DOT told me that there will be no overruns. They had enough money in state and federal money. So which released that $380,000 commitment that the board had previously voted, and it went back into our usable account. So now we have $380,000 to our better. One of the recent projects in Back Bay, that the board had committed $125,000 for Phase 5. The grant came, the construction came under the amount that we had planned, so we didn't need the 125 that was committed to that. So another $125,000 went into our good. So approximately right now, we're, today's balance, we've got like $698,000 that got uncommitted and it's back into our account, which allows,
Sounds good to me.
which allows the selectmen to move forward on some other road projects in town. So, now, when I've told, Julie Richard that Orchard Lane has been on my priority list, it's been on my priority list for years, as many other roads have. Some, not many, were dead-end streets, and some were through streets. So we try to treat the through streets, if they're both bad, we're gonna do the through street first, because it's a higher rate of speed on those roads and whatnot. I think you can understand if it's a dead-end street, you're only getting your local traffic and local deliveries. So, but I've talked about doing Orchard Lane for quite a while. Now,
I've been there 17 years and I'm still here in the
Yeah,
job.
and I've been
I've
here.
been there 36, no, 40.
All right, let Bud finish.
Maybe you should let him finish.
and I've been there, I've been working for the town for 32 years, and nothing's been done to the road since I've been there. So,
To Orchard Lane.
so it's no news to me that Orchard Lane is way overdue for a rehab.
Wow.
Okay, that being said, I know we started in East Templeton. My plan was, Baker's Lane was worse than Orchard Lane. I hate to say it, but it was.
My mother lived there. It was bad, but not as bad as Orchard Lane is getting. I mean, it was like this. It was.
Let's let
When I
Bud
say
finish.
when I say it was bad, Diane, I meant that not only for driving, but for plowing, for sanding, for sweeping. It had some big ruts in it. You could barely walk on it. So Orchard Lane,
But I'd like to say, you did 3 roads. You
4.
guys did a great job, and it took hardly any time, and it really, really did look nice. It wasn't a long project.
It was a late season project, and how it works is our vendors come in little short streets. They won't come in for a little short street. I have to.
What's a vendor?
Vendor is people that we hire. They're the company that comes in and chews the road, and then we have another company that comes in and hot tops the road. We don't have that type of equipment. So, to make it, to set up some projects within a small area, a small grid, that they can come in and move their equipment from street to street. We started at Baker's Lane, and, we did 4 streets there. They were very short streets in a very short time.
Yeah, you did a great job.
So, the plan is to move forward and finish the rest of East Templeton Village, which is Orchard Lane, is one of them. And that pretty much kind of finishes the village of East Templeton.
So are those roads all done? It sounds to me like
Those streets,
that's
all
done.
right, let me finish, please. All right. The 4 streets that I did are completed. They're completed. They got binder and top. Most of them didn't need any drainage work on them. They were short streets. Baker's Lane could have, but the state wouldn't allow us to add any more drainage to their system where it drains to, so we couldn't, we couldn't improve the drainage on Baker's Lane. And it has to do with something with a subdivision up in the back that, complicated matters too.
But the way you did that burr in everybody's driveway, it was great.
Yeah, the
Nobody's
job,
getting water anymore.
the job came out well.
Yeah.
So now, moving forward, we didn't, that used up our Chapter 90 money 2 years ago. We had to commit that $380,000 to Ballinville Road. It was going on for the last year, so we couldn't do anything really last year. We didn't have enough of money in our Chapter 90 account to start any more projects. That being said, CDBG was looking to do some rehab work in East Templeton area like they did in Ballinville. It didn't work out in our favor. So last year, even if we'd have had some money, we didn't want to do anything. We were hoping that the grant would take over and do all the road rebuilding and repairs and infrastructure improvements that we
answer me
needed to do.
this.
So, hang on.
Every time I called you for the last year, why didn't you just tell me that? Honestly.
I didn't know that, I didn't know that.
You knew, you just told me you knew.
Last year,
Right, and for the last 10 months, I've been calling your office and you've been telling me you're all set. We're taking care of Orchard Lane. Why would I get that?
well, that's part of it.
All right. It is part of it.
I understand
because
it's part
we're
of it, but I mean,
applying-
if you would have just explained it the way you just did,
Right.
I think I would have been a little bit,
Perhaps when we talked last year, Julie, I didn't know that CDBG was gonna be moving forward this year when it happened. I didn't know when it was gonna happen. So, this is when Mike applied for it, so.
Right.
I
The
can't tell you
cycle-
something
The
I don't
cycle
know.
of the CDBG funds is different than when we get Chapter 90 money. So when
Right.
you're trying to coordinate, okay, Ballinville Road, you have to hold up your Chapter 90 money, so you have to hold that in reserve. Plus, there was more in reserve for another section of Back Bay, which is now finished, okay? There'll be, what, 125 is committed
For Memorial
for
Street.
Memorial Street. Then that part will be done. Okay, we were trying to get the surveys done for East Templeton because that's our next focus group for the CDBG grant. We got a lot of grant money to work in the Back Bay of Baldwinville and fix those roads. Similar drainage conditions. I lived there, I know. It was, I
right,
live
in
in a
the
swamp.
first year, the grant
Right.
went, like
Okay.
East Templeton's grant.
Right,
It
that's what we're
didn't-
trying to do.
It didn't move ahead.
Right,
The
but
second
we-
year,
I
the
mean,
residents in that area.
This fall is when we met to try to get, the grant application was due February 14th, okay? So
Yes,
we
it
didn't
was.
know that we didn't have enough surveys until like, right before then, February 10th.
Mhm.
So there's no way Bud could know that we weren't gonna be able to do this project. All right, now we know that it's not gonna be covered under CDBG. We can get it started, okay? If you look at the information that Bud gave you on what to do for Orchard Lane, okay? We can do the town part. I would be hesitant to put the top coat on, okay, if the water mains aren't replaced. We can do the drainage, we can probably do the binder, and it's gonna be a heck of a lot better than what you have now. But I would hold off on doing the top coat until we can try to get the CDBG grant, because I don't think the water department has any money to be replacing the mains.
But again, they
Right.
may.
They may.
And so I just go
Right.
with, I'll just go to one of their meetings, because I guess,
Right.
I'm guessing they'll find it.
I don't know, we can't speak for them, okay? But what we can speak to, and this is part of the process. Usually every spring, Bud comes up with an update of what we have on Chapter 90 money and how much is committed for what. Okay, we can't double spend it. We can't spend it before we get it.
So this is what you guys can speak for, you can't speak for the water.
Right,
That's correct.
right,
This is what, so
This is what
she
we
takes this
can-
over to the water department.
right. And I don't know how many mains would be replaced, I don't know.
But that's
Right.
what Bud has here is breakdown of what you can do.
That would be better than nothing.
Basically,
Well,
right.
those are the kind of decisions we make. Usually Bud will come in with a list of roads to do, and that's how we did these other roads in East Templeton. Because we had enough money to do that project with what was left of Chapter 90 that wasn't committed.
So what's left over from Chapter 90 as of now?
As of like today,
600,000 like you said?
yeah, it's just under 700,000, but 125,000 of that
It's already accounted
is
for.
committed to finish
To
Back Bay.
Memorial Road, right?
For Memorial Street.
Right.
And then Back Bay is completely done.
Right.
Everything's done in there.
Hodge Road is done.
You know, for the audience, I know they're not looking at this, but I had done up a scenario here, what it was gonna cost to
It's like 66,000
resurface the road,
for that
reclaim it, resurface, reclaim it, chewing it up and grading it out, compacting it, and then putting down your hot mix, adjusting all the sewer structures and water gates, and it's like 66,200. That's a budget number. It's could fluctuate either way, just, you know, a little bit. But I also put on there additional improvements that should be included before we put $66,000 in. I'm saying it should be, doesn't have to be, but it should be. And that's to put a sidewalk in, about 1,500 feet of
Now,
sidewalk.
does that come from
We
your
don't need a
budget, or do
sidewalk.
I ask the
Hold
water
on,
department?
hold on, let me speak, please.
Okay.
All right, these are what I'm saying that should be included, is to install a sidewalk. Because currently, right now, people have to walk in the road. If they want to walk up to get their mail into the store and for exercising purposes, and children, they have to walk in the road. Summertime's not a problem. People can step on somebody's lawn if a car's coming. But in the wintertime, you got snowbanks. So I included it in here at a cost of like $12,700. Again, that's a budget number. New drainage system, manholes and catch basins should be installed on that road. It's a downhill slope from the top of the hill down to the bottom, and currently, right now, there's only one catch basin down on the bottom, and it doesn't catch the sand and the silt before it drops into the brook.
No, it doesn't, my driveway does.
Yeah, half the time I
Thank
have
you,
to
that's
clean
something
it
that we
out.
don't have to clean up. But, and then, lastly,
You're very welcome.
lastly, I put in there that the water main should be replaced before.
That's them though.
That's the other side of town.
Right,
They're in
that's not
charge
you
of that.
guys.
We have no say over what they do. So these are the things that I said that should be included
Right, but that's
before
not your
we
money.
rebuild the road.
But that's not your money.
That's not my money.
Right.
As it wasn't my money, I couldn't say when I wanted to rebuild Baker's Lane and the 4 streets I did over in East Templeton. None of those water mains got replaced either. But, you know,
Were they newer?
no, they're the same age, but however, we
They're
needed to
3
start,
years
we needed to
younger.
start somewhere in East Templeton to get some roads rebuilt so that you can drive on them, we can plow them, we can sweep them, and, you know, it's easier for everybody all the way around. It's a safety, safety issue.
But you still did it without the new one.
That's correct.
But
That's
every-
correct. And look, I would recommend to the Board of Selectmen still, it is on my high priority list, that if the water department hands down said, we got no funds, we're not gonna replace the water mains, it would be between me and the board, I would recommend to the board that we move forward on this project. It would be their ultimate decision whether they want to expend Chapter 90 money to rebuild the road without the water main and drainage going into it.
That's your, okay.
These are the options I put in here, so.
Thank you.
This is reality, this is
Thank
what it is. So, and that being said, I updated this letter that came from the Board of Selectmen, I'll pass it to the chair first. I would encourage you to send that letter off to the Light and Water Department. And basically what that letter says is that we would like to be informed if they have any water main projects that they plan on doing and what roads they are this season.
So you can
We
fix
sent it
that
to them in
road.
2003,
Oh.
that same letter. I just updated the date. The language doesn't have to change. So if they do have a plan to replace do any water improvements over in the East Templeton area, we would like to know about it so that we could coordinate our side of the job, which is the finished job, to make the project whole.
So just let me be clear on this. You guys Templeton has their own, like, water department too.
Correct.
And nobody talks. And you guys don't talk to each other.
No, that's not true.
I mean, it's just, we don't control what they do.
They have
We
their own
can't
money.
tell them,
But you guys
replace
have
the
the
water main
money
in that street.
to give to fix the roads, but they're pretty much unwilling to fix 100-year-old water mains.
I don't know about unwilling, it's,
Yeah.
they don't
I think
have the
they'd like to,
funds either.
it's just like us, I'm sure they would love to replace every old water main in town, and I would like to hot top every road in this town. It's the money. who has
Well,
the
I
money.
mean, unnecessarily though. You know,
So back
Not
to my,
unnecessarily, I mean, obviously this
I
person
see,
needs
yeah,
it.
we have a question in the back, so let's listen to what this gentleman
I
has
think
to
he's gonna
say.
make a comment.
You're talking about roads, I'm bringing something up about roads.
Yeah.
I was here almost 9 months ago on the Four Corners, North Main Street and Mother Road, and Bud Chase was giving us, from you people, to find a way to fix that road or get a grant. I have not heard a word from you people, I've heard no word from Bud Chase. It's getting worse, the roads are sinking in. Those cars are flying through those four corners like they're gonna, and one of them is gonna hit that road and is gonna go flying off the road and come towards my house, and I don't want that to happen. But my water problem's getting worse. I can't even walk in my driveway anymore. My driveway is completely cracked. Are you guys gonna pay for it when you fix the road? My driveway's completely gone and I can't fix it because the same thing's gonna happen all over again. What has Bud Jakes and the new people done when you make promises to me 9 months ago?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
my
Bud.
response to that over to Vic is that so far, there's still no grant money available to take care of that project over at Four Corners. I wish there was.
What about Chapter 90 money?
There is Chapter 90 money. There is Chapter 90 money.
The road is,
Again,
the
right
road is
now,
already,
there's
the new
Chapter
mains
90
are
money.
already in.
All right, let Bud talk.
Those are all done.
Yeah, this is the problem we've got. We've got a town full of bad roads, and everybody wants their road done, and they want it done today. Now, I'm
That
not saying,
road is
Vic, hang on,
traveled.
I'm not saying you haven't been on the waiting list over there.
Waiting list for
You
10
know,
years now.
You know, 10 years, and some roads have been waiting 30 years to be re-hot top. So this is the problem we got. Now, each year, for the last several years, I've included in an annual town meeting for the taxpayers to come up with $250,000 each and every single year, and it's gotten voted down. I put on there as a warrant, and the people voted down. So we can't fix it with our own money. I mean, there is no money. There's only so much Chapter 90 money. Some of it was committed to these grant projects that we had, Wallenville Road and that, we had to commit it, but I mean, we can't fix it all overnight. I wish we could.
You got a new pond there on North Main
I know it,
Road.
Vic. I drive through it all the time. I know what you got.
Okay,
There's no
I mean,
money.
yeah,
All that water's coming into my cellar.
right.
I know.
So we know that we're gonna have some Chapter 90 money. The majority of the work in Back Bay is done. We don't have committed funds. When we get closer to the construction season, Bud will put forth a list of roads that he recommends that's being done that he could do with the available funds that we have. So at that time, I think we'll have to, just prioritize the list. I don't see why we should not be able to do some roads this year since Back Bay is pretty much done at this point. Yes.
again, can we go back to my first question?
Yeah, the first
Is
question
it your
is,
intention to communicate to the residents of East Templeton the importance of returning surveys to Michael Ping Ping? Might be off, and you would understand, you were in Back Bay, you live there, I get it. It's off for this year, but are we going to aggressively communicate it to everyone out there and have a few more open meetings? And I certainly will go door to door, do whatever I need to do as far as getting monies for next year, just in case our water department in town doesn't have any money. But in the interim, have you seen the picture of where our children go to the bus stop? That's why I'm here tonight. Besides the fact that, again, I lost 2 hubcaps, I had a flat tire, and I swear to God, when you go up and down Orchard Lane, it's ridiculous. So now we've been told there's Chapter 90 money. Not even half of that can do the majority of things on Bud's list. So now I have to start now? When do you start this? So that I can go home tonight and go, okay, my 2 weeks of after writing my letter to the Board of Selectmen, I can sleep tonight knowing that someone's gonna start doing something on Orchard Lane. That's all I wanted from tonight's meeting. I can go a lot further than this, I get it. I've talked to Michael Ping Ping a couple of times. I'll get direction from him to get bigger money for the water main if that's where I need to go. But for tonight, I put a lot of energy into 3 small questions. Polly was nice enough to answer my 3rd question. My first 2 have yet to be answered. So if I can get some kind of clarification, I would really appreciate that. And then I'm all set. I'm off your agenda. I'm done.
Mr. Chair, it's usually starting in April that I start working hard on the list after the frost starts to go out of the ground, because in the wintertime, it's hard to put a list together because the frost acts differently on each road. Some roads relax back when the sun hits them, and they're not half bad. You know, even some brand new roads, even Bolingbroke Road just got hot top last year, and it's got waves in it from the frost. We had an extreme winter, extreme cold, so roads are really crazy right now. So it's around this time. I started out with this particular document tonight. I gave you some numbers on it. I'm not asking the board to make a commitment tonight, whether you may want to review it, you may want to talk about it, but I did put together a number. I also put together a number on adjoining street 101 East Templeton that I've got in the folder here. I'm not going to present it to you tonight, but it's about $108,000 to go from Sawyer Street to the center of East Templeton in that real bad area that's very shady. The road is all falling apart. However, I was going to present that tonight, just want to let you know, but I happened to bump into the chair of the Light and Water Commission, and I happened to mention that to him, and he says, we want to put a new water main underneath that street, so don't do anything with that. So I don't know when that's going to happen. That's what encouraged me to send this letter out, so that we know, because if they're not going to do that for a couple of 3 years, we might marry these 2 streets together.
I will make a motion that we send this letter to the Light and Water Commissioners. And what the letter says is, we are writing to thank you for keeping our office appraised of the construction projects you have planned for the upcoming construction season. It is important that our highway department know the projects you have planned, including having the opportunity to review the plans prior to construction. We also remind you that before construction begins on these worthwhile projects, proper road opening permits need to be secured. You may contact the Highway Superintendent, Francis Chase, for that purpose. So I've made a motion.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? You're going to discuss the letter we're sending to the...
Yeah, can I get a copy of that?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have
Thank
a
you.
copy machine, we'll make a copy.
What do you have in there?
We have to give it to Holly to see that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the letter? None. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, so we'll get a list of roads from Bud in early to mid-April. At that point, we'll set the priority list. Construction probably starts sometime in May. And that's, I think, all we can do at this point.
I think there's one other thing that we can do, which is contact Mike Pinkpank and try to get that survey, so that we can start getting surveys now for the grant, the next grant application next year, so that we'll have more time to get the surveys in, plus letters of interest. I know I wrote a letter of interest, a few other people wrote letters of interest.
Yeah,
to
48
support
out of
that
the
grant.
150 people that he's trying to get.
Right.
48 people replied. My question to you is, are you going to set a date tonight for the public meeting for the East Templeton residents so that we can advertise that, or is that too early?
It's too early.
Yeah, that would be through Mike.
That would be Mike.
And that would be
Mike
through
sets
Mike,
that up.
so I can just talk to Mike about
Yeah.
setting that up. Okay.
Diane, you have?
Yes. I think to try to help answer Julie's question, is Orchard Lane absolutely going to be on this list? Like
Well,
that you...
that's what I was raising my hand for, because he's going to give you a list, but there's no guarantee Orchard Lane's going to be on.
So, is that going to be on the list? That's really like my first question, like would you be able to say yes or no to that, since you've already gone over and done these numbers? But I wanted to kind of ask more, I wanted you guys to be able to talk. If we were to get, let's say that you were able to do this, and only because I don't understand this process, so you'll have to pardon me, but if the CDBG grant funds were to come through, would we be able to be reimbursed for any work that the town did decide to do on this? So I'm asking you that, Bud?
Okay, that's.
Would we do that work and then not be reimbursed for that, even though we might not do every piece of it, because even just a top coat would be better than nothing? So kind of asking.
If it was to happen, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
If it happened to be that way, it never happened to my knowledge since I've been here, that if we went in and did a road prior to a CDBG grant, we didn't get refunded from that. It's state Chapter 90 money that's paying for the road. It's state money that's paying the grant. So, I mean, you know, one's not gonna pay back the other. That's not usually how it works, so.
So I think.
If CDBG grant's not gonna happen for another year, it won't happen this year at all, no
Right,
matter how much legwork. So it's it's only a possibility that it could happen next year. It may not. It may not happen for another 2 or 3 years. So if the board tonight wants to table this, I mean, I'm recommending that this is on the high priority list. If the chair is asking me to put together a list with multiple streets on it and conditions for your decision of how we're gonna, spend Chapter 90 money, that will be up to the board. I will recommend X amount of streets with X amount of dollars, and the board will set the priority of which street do they want done first. As far as the pictogram on the back of the whiteboard there, I just want you all to know that, yes, there's potholes, and I'm looking at them, and there's no doubt. I think I recognize the big one. But I want, and I'm not making a joke of it, but what I'm telling you what, it's a game with us. One of my guys sitting here tonight that's probably been up there personally multiple times, and my other crew, part of my crew, multiple times patching it. The day I was up measuring the road and pricing this job out, we saw more potholes. We immediately dispatched a crew up there, as we do on each street. So we patch them, and the rain blows them out. We patch them, the rain blows them out.
Excuse me, though, I do have to disagree with you. On that particular photo, that's a sinkhole, and when your gentlemen drop whatever they drop, it's down by the bus stop. They have never come in any further than the first house built on Orchard Lane that I have ever seen. One time they did when I called you, and they did the front of my house. They never filled that particular hole.
Yeah, we're not gonna have an argument here. So,
They have.
yeah, I think we're gonna.
So, again, I have one more question. Is Orchard Lane gonna be on his list of priority streets when he submits his Chapter 90 for this fiscal year?
You just stated it, plus the agenda will be posted, so you'll know when we're discussing which roads we're gonna fix, what we're gonna vote on.
And so can you set a date? It's too early to set a date to discuss the
The
other
asphalt
stuff.
plants aren't even open. We can't do anything right now.
Okay, I'm just asking, that's why I'm here. So I can learn the process.
So Bud will
Glad
provide
you
us a
are.
list in
I'd
mid-April.
love to teach you the process.
April 17th, they open.
Can I ask one more question? Because the man in the, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Could you repeat again the street that you were talking about?
North Main Street, Auto Road.
Will that be on that
Auto Road, you
list
said?
by any chance?
That's a whole different kind of a project,
That's a
and I'll be
whole
happy to talk about it on a night that you got more time.
Right.
Otter River Road.
Okay. Oh.
He has a big problem over there, and I recognize that. The
yeah.
town should recognize, the town has
Okay,
recognized it.
now I know what you're
It's
talking
funding.
about. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thank you for coming and for,
Thank
bringing up the
Thank you.
issue.
Appreciate the time.
All right, so our next item is VSO services. John Kaplis is here to talk to us about that. Yep, welcome, John.
Thank you. Obviously, I don't have a diagram of that.
Yeah.
I should have put a diagram. I do have some handouts, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I delivered last couple of meetings, the proposal for having an independent VSO or Director of Veteran Services within the town of Templeton versus the Quabbin District. As the money that's spent from taxpayers' money out of Templeton, I believe there's a disservice being done to the veterans of the town of Templeton, knowing that there's 504 veterans in the town of Templeton. There's 8 using the Chapter 115 national law benefits within the town of Templeton out of the 7,000, residents or so of the town. And to me, being a combat veteran myself, I think it's definitely I think a better service can be provided to our veterans within our community. A more cost-effective way to do that is obviously bringing our own Director of Veteran Services within the community. Because what's happening right now with as you saw in my proposal, having a district, you have one individual that covers down 5 communities. He gets paid from each community a set amount of money. Obviously, we discussed this last meeting, which Templeton pays X amount of dollars, each town pays X amount of dollars, which is